Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. From this video onwards, we're going to see some drawing lessons. If you like my video, please make sure you subscribe, like, share and press the notification bell so that whenever I post a new video, you are updated. In this video, we're going to use a 2B pencil, an HB pencil, a 4B pencil, a 6B pencil and an 8B pencil for shading. I would also use a blending stump and an eraser. For blending purposes, I would also be using a normal paintbrush. So let's get started. I usually start by rubbing the paper so that it is clean of all marks. Let's start by drawing a circle. This is usually the boundary for the eye, and don't worry, it need not be a perfect circle. So take your time and try to make the circle as good as possible. Next, I draw two lines, one horizontal and one vertical, so as to facilitate my drawing. Try to make the lines as light as possible so that when you rub, whenever you make a mistake, it doesn't look bad. Next, I draw the iris, which is a smaller circle in the middle. Then comes the cornea. The cornea is a circle in between the iris and the outermost boundary. Usually the cornea is a circular, curved, concave mirror that acts as a protective lens for the iris. As you can see, the light direction comes from over here. So I draw a smaller circle over here so as to represent the curved nature of the cornea. Next, I draw the eyelids. The eyelids are usually different in shape for different people. So don't worry if it is not exactly as I have drawn here. For the tear duct, it comes just below the horizontal line. I draw two extra lines below the eyelids, one over here and one on top of the upper eyelid boundary to make it look like three-dimensional. Then I draw two extra lines, one on top and one at the bottom to give the eye a three-dimensional look. Don't worry if it is not perfect, everything comes with practice. I took my time as well. Then I do some minor adjustments with the boundaries. I mean, this is just for my own reference. If you want, you can draw light. I am doing it here so as to make the drawing look a bit clearer in video. Make sure you get rid of the horizontal and vertical lines which we draw initially. Let's start with the shading. I am using an HB pencil to make the basic platform of the eye. We start by shading the cornea, and since the light comes from the direction of the arrow, the shadow falls under the eyelid in the upper section, as you can see here. Next, I use the paintbrush to blend the shading that I just did and make it look smoother. You need not rub very hard and just put mild pressure. Also, I use the HB pencil to make the circles inside the cornea a bit more clearer. This is usually done for making the shading a bit more easier. Next, I use a 2B pencil to make the second layer of shading. This is used to draw the shadows that is caused by the light that is coming from upwards. Please make sure you do the shading as I have shown here. It would ensure that your eyes look more three-dimensional and it gives a more realistic nature. Don't worry if it is not perfect in the beginning. We all need practice, right? I did too. I then use a blending stump to make the shading a bit smoother. Make sure not to put too much pressure and try to make it as smooth as possible. Once done, I rub the circles in the middle, by which I mean the iris, to make it look more realistic. Don't worry, it won't look like an eye now, but eventually it'll start looking like an eye. If you observe, I put the shadows in the correct part, and where we put the shadows depends on the direction of light. I also use a 4B pencil to make it more darker, and if you want, you can also use a 6B pencil. Just make sure to make it darker at the correct positions. It depends on the direction of light. Here, since the light is coming from above, the shadow would be just under the eyelid. Next, I draw some straight lines from the upper smaller circle to give it a more realistic look. Make sure that these lines are coming in the outward direction, in a circular manner. Whatever you draw should look good. I can understand that you take time, but with practice, everything will turn better. I then start shading the outer part of the eyeball. Here you can see that the eyelid causes a shadow. I mean to say it casts a shadow on the upper portion, which is why I am darkening the upper portion. Then I use a blending stamp as usual to make it more smoother. Please make sure to include the shadows in the right positions. You can also use an eraser like here to rub off wherever you have made a mistake or to show some lighter areas. Then I start to shade the eyelids. Well, I use that HB pencil in the beginning to shade the eyelids, as you can see here. For the lighter shades, I usually go in this direction. First I use the HB pencil, after that I put another layer of 2B, followed by a 4B, then 6B, and if required for making the parts really dark, I use either a 6B by putting more pressure, or I use an 8B. After that, I use the blending stump or the paintbrush to make it more smoother. I usually take into consideration the direction of light. Always please make sure to make the direction of light your priority while making the shading. As you can see here, if I shade the portions just at the corners and make it more darker, it would give a three-dimensional look to the eye. It's only a matter of practice. I also took a lot of time to make these things, so don't worry if you don't make it in the first place. Now I am using a 4B pencil to shade the portion just below the eye. This gives a 3D look to the eye. The shadows are always cast in the opposite direction of light. Don't put too much pressure, just put enough pressure as and where required. It's time for some detailing. I put some extra dark portions by using either a 4B or a 6B. When I use a 4B I put more pressure, when I use a 6B I put less pressure. You can see that the eyeball is more darker than the eyelid. This depends on what pencil you use. Then I use a paintbrush to brush it as usual so that it blends with the paper and the surrounding skin. Otherwise it would give us sharp edge which we do not want. The more pressure you put with the the more pressure you put with the paintbrush, the more blending it would do. Whenever you rub, make sure you don't tear the paper or rub any good parts which we have already sketched. Now it's time to draw the eyelashes. I usually start with an HB pencil and draw light strokes as shown over here. Make sure not to put too much of pressure on the paper. Make them gradually coming outwards from the inside of the eye. The density depends on how much eyelashes you want to put. Usually some people have more and some have less. Then I use either a 2B or a 4B pencil to highlight some more eyelashes in a darker tone. This number, however, is lesser than the HB pencil. I finally use the blending stump to blend the root parts of the eyelashes. This gives it a more natural look. You can do it as shown over here, and with practice it will get better. That's all for this video. If you like watching my video, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.